Hey everyone, Sarah here. Rewind Justice brings you revenge stories that will blow your mind. If you're ready, hit subscribe and let's go.
I sat at the far end of the table at Giovanni's, Dad's favorite Italian restaurant, watching him hold court at his 70th birthday dinner. 30 guests, perfectly arranged. My brother Marcus and his wife. My sister Jennifer and her husband. Aunts, uncles, cousins. All the family that mattered. And me. Alone. As usual. To another successful year, Dad announced, raising his wine glass. And to family. The people who matter most. Everyone cheered. I lifted my glass mechanically. Dr. Richard Peterson. Renowned orthopedic surgeon. 42 years in practice. Ego the size of his surgical suite. Michael, Dad's voice cut across the table. Still working at that, what do you call it? Tech support. Systems architecture, I corrected quietly. I design network infrastructure for. Yes. Computers. He waved dismissively. Marcus, tell everyone about the promotion. My brother launched into a story about making junior partner at his law firm. Everyone listened attentively. Dad beamed with pride. This was how it always went. Marcus, the successful attorney. Jennifer, the corporate executive with 3 kids. And me, the IT guy who worked from home in hoodies and hadn't brought anyone to a family event in 8 years. Michael's 39 now, Aunt Carol said, her voice dripping with sympathy. Still no one special. He's married to his computers, Dad said, and everyone laughed. Some people just aren't cut out for real relationships. Mom patted my hand. It's okay, honey. Not everyone finds someone. I nodded. Right. Marriage isn't for failures, Dad continued, warming to his theme. He'd had 3 glasses of wine. It requires success. Stability. The ability to provide and lead. Some people just don't have what it takes. He wasn't looking at me, but everyone knew who he meant. Richard, Mom said gently. That's a bit harsh. I'm being realistic, Sandra. Look at Marcus, established career, beautiful wife, owns his home. Jennifer, executive position, wonderful husband, 3 grandchildren. That's what successful people build. And Michael? Jennifer asked quietly. Michael will probably die alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are meant to be solitary. Dad raised his glass. To accepting reality. The table went quiet. A few people drank. Most just looked uncomfortable. I pulled out my phone under the table and texted, still joining us for dinner tomorrow? The response came immediately, wouldn't miss it. How bad is it? Me, he just announced I'll die alone. 3 dots appeared, then, want me to come get you? Me, 1 hour. I can manage. I looked up. Dad was watching me. Texting during family dinner? Rude, Michael. Sorry. I put my phone away. This is what I mean. No social awareness. No understanding of basic courtesy. These are the reasons you'll never find anyone. Mom squeezed my shoulder. Your father doesn't mean it like that. But he did. He always did. I'd been the family disappointment since college. Marcus went to law school. Jennifer got her MBA. I got a computer science degree and went into network security, a field my father couldn't understand and therefore didn't respect. You sit in front of screens all day, he'd said when I told him about my first job. That's not a real career. Never mind that I made good money. Never mind that I was genuinely talented at what I did. If it didn't involve suits and corner offices and clients Dad could brag about at the country club, it didn't matter. The real divide came when I was 28. I'd been seeing someone, Dr. Catherine Wells, a surgical resident I'd met at a medical technology conference. Brilliant, driven, ambitious. We'd been dating for 6 months when I brought her to a family dinner. Dad had been thrilled. Finally, Michael was dating a doctor. Someone respectable. Then Catherine got accepted to a prestigious fellowship in Boston. Long-distance relationship. She asked if I'd consider relocating. I was ready to say yes when Dad pulled me aside. Don't be stupid, he'd said. She's going to be a surgeon. In a few years, she'll be making 3 times what you make. She'll realize she's too good for you and move on. End it now before you embarrass yourself. That's not how relationships work. That's exactly how they work. People marry within their class, Michael. She's going to be elite. You're going to be what you are. Save yourself the heartbreak. I'd broken up with Catherine the next week. Told her long distance wouldn't work. She'd been hurt and confused. I'd been heartbroken. For the next 8 years, I avoided relationships entirely. Went to family events alone. Watched Marcus and Jennifer build their perfect lives. Became the cautionary tale Dad used to illustrate his points about success and failure. What my family didn't know. 3 years ago, I'd reconnected with Catherine at another conference. She'd finished her fellowship. She was a trauma surgeon now, working at Northwestern Memorial. We'd gone for coffee. Then dinner. Then started seeing each other again. Your family still doesn't think you're good enough for anyone, she'd asked after I'd explained why I kept canceling weekend plans when family events came up. Something like that. And you just let them think that. It's easier than fighting them. Catherine had studied me. You know that's insane, right? I know. But I kept doing it anyway. Because the alternative, bringing Catherine to family events and watching Dad diminish what we had, felt worse than just being alone. We got married 2 years ago. Small ceremony, just us and a few friends. Catherine's parents. No one from my family. You're sure you don't want to tell them? Catherine had asked. I'm sure. Why? Because the second I tell them I married a surgeon, it becomes about Dad's validation. About proving I was good enough. I don't want his approval anymore. I just want to live my life. Catherine was now the chief of trauma surgery at Northwestern Memorial. She also sat on the Illinois State Medical Board, the organization that handled physician licensing, disciplinary actions, and renewals. Including my father's medical license, which came up for renewal every 2 years. Dad had no idea his license renewal was reviewed by the wife of the son he considered a failure. What my family believed, I lived alone in a small apartment, worked from home in my pajamas, had no social life, and would probably die surrounded by computer equipment. The truth, Catherine and I owned a 3-bedroom house in Lincoln Park. I was the chief technology officer at a cybersecurity firm that protected hospital networks nationwide, with a team of 4 to 7 engineers and a 7-figure salary. We traveled constantly, medical conferences for Catherine, security summits for me. But I kept showing up to family events alone, wearing my oldest clothes, driving my 10-year-old Honda, letting them believe whatever they wanted. You're a better person than me, Catherine had said last month. I couldn't let my family treat me like that. It's not about being better. It's about protecting what we have from their judgment. By letting them think you're alone and unsuccessful. They're going to judge either way. At least this way, their judgment doesn't touch us. 3 weeks ago, I'd mentioned Dad's birthday dinner. Catherine had immediately known it would be rough. Want me to come? Put on my scrubs, introduce myself. No. That's giving him what he wants, proof that I needed his approval. So when do they get to know? When it stops mattering what they think. But tonight, listening to Dad announce I'd die alone to a table of 30 people, I'd realized something had shifted. It didn't matter what he thought anymore. It hadn't for a while. I just hadn't decided what to do about it. The dinner continued. Dad moved from table to table, accepting congratulations, telling stories about his surgical accomplishments. The man could command a room. I checked my phone. A message from Catherine, his license renewal came across my desk today. Routine approval. Unless you want me to flag something? I stared at that message. Dr. Richard Peterson's medical license. The thing that defined his entire identity. The credential that gave him the authority to look down on everyone else. And my wife, the failure's wife who didn't exist, had the power to delay it, review it, make his life complicated. I typed back, just routine approval. He's a good surgeon. Patient outcomes matter more than his personality. Catherine, you're a better person than he deserves. The waiter brought out Dad's birthday cake, a massive tiered creation with 70 years of excellence written in icing. Dad stood to make another speech. I want to thank my family for being here tonight. Marcus and Jennifer, you've made me proud. You've built lives worth celebrating. Real careers. Real families. Real success. He paused, looked directly at me. And Michael. Well. Not everyone can be successful. Not everyone finds someone. That's just reality. The table shifted uncomfortably. I used to worry about you, Dad continued. But I've accepted that you're going to be alone. You don't have what it takes for marriage. And that's okay. The world needs IT support too. Polite, awkward laughter. Mom was crying quietly. Jennifer looked mortified. Marcus studied his wine glass. And I was done. Done pretending. Done protecting his feelings. Done with all of it. I pulled out my phone and texted Catherine, Dr. Peterson's license renewal. Can you table it? Request additional documentation? Make him sweat a little? Her response, are you sure? Me, very sure. Catherine, consider it done. Review notification goes out tomorrow morning. I looked up. Dad was still talking, basking in attention, completely unaware that his son, the failure, the disappointment, the one who'd die alone, had just set something in motion. His phone rang. He frowned, checking the screen. Medical board office. Odd timing. He stepped away to answer. I watched his face change. Confusion. Then concern. Then barely concealed panic. He was on the phone for 6 minutes. When he came back to the table, his confident smile was strained. Everything okay? Mom asked. Fine. Just some administrative nonsense about my license renewal. Probably a computer error. I sipped my wine and said nothing. The party wrapped up around 11. Everyone hugged Dad, wished him well, promised to see him soon. I shook his hand. Happy birthday. Michael. He gripped my shoulder. About what I said earlier, I'm just being realistic. You understand. I understand perfectly. I drove home to Lincoln Park. Catherine was waiting up, still in her scrubs from an emergency surgery. How bad was it? She asked. He told 30 people I'll die alone. That marriage isn't for failures. That I don't have what it takes for a real relationship. Jesus. In front of everyone. Made it the centerpiece of his birthday speech. Catherine pulled me close. I tabled his license renewal. He'll get a letter tomorrow requesting updated continuing education documentation, peer reviews, and patient outcome data for the past year. Is that normal? For random audits, yes. It happens to about 5% of renewals. He'll probably assume it's routine. Probably. He'll panic first. Richard Peterson doesn't do well with anyone questioning his competence. We sat on the couch, her head on my shoulder. When do you want to tell them about us? Tomorrow. Sunday dinner. He invited me last week, probably to set me up with another lecture about success. You're sure? I thought about it. Yeah. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting him diminish what we have. I'm done being the family failure. You were never a failure. I know. But they needed me to be one so they could feel successful. I'm done providing that service. Confrontation scene. The truth emerges. Sunday dinner at my parents' house. I arrived exactly on time. Dad was in his study, on the phone. I could hear frustration in his voice. Mom greeted me at the door. Michael, perfect timing. Your father is stressed about some medical board thing. Maybe you can help calm him down. What happened? His license renewal got flagged for additional review. He has to submit all this documentation. He's convinced someone's targeting him. I followed her to the living room. Dad was pacing, phone pressed to his ear. No, I understand the policy. But my record is spotless. 42 years, 0 complaints. Yes, I'll submit everything by Friday. No, I understand there's no appeals process for random audits. He hung up, saw me, and his frustration found a target. Your generation's obsession with technology is ruining everything. Now even medical licensing is handled by computers that randomly flag people for no reason. It's probably just routine, I offered. Routine? I've never been flagged before. Someone's made a mistake. We sat down for dinner. Marcus and Jennifer had been invited too. The whole family. So, Dad said once we'd started eating. Michael, I've been thinking about what I said at my birthday. Dad, Jennifer started. No, let me finish. Michael, you're 39. If you're ever going to find someone, You need to start taking it seriously. Lower your standards. Join one of those dating apps. Stop being so particular. I'm not particular. You haven't brought anyone to a family event in 8 years. That's the definition of particular. Maybe I have brought someone. You just didn't know it. Dad laughed. When? Where? To my wedding. 2 years ago. The silence was immediate and absolute. Mom's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Marcus stared. Jennifer's eyes went wide. Dad's face drained of color. What? Mom whispered. I got married 2 years ago. Small ceremony. Just close friends. You weren't invited. That's not funny, Dad said. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, and slid it across the table. Our wedding photo, me in a suit, Catherine in a simple white dress, both of us smiling at City Hall. Mom picked it up with shaking hands. This is, when? 2 years ago. August 12th. You got married and never told us. Dad's voice was rising. You were busy that weekend. Marcus's promotion party. Who is she? Jennifer asked quietly. Dr. Catherine Wells. Trauma surgeon at Northwestern Memorial. A surgeon? Dad's expression shifted. You married a surgeon. Chief of trauma surgery, actually. Why wouldn't you tell us this? Mom demanded. Because I didn't want your approval. I didn't want Dad's validation. I just wanted to marry the woman I love without making it about whether I'd finally achieved something worth recognizing. That's insane, Marcus said. Is it? Dad spent 10 years telling me I'm a failure. That I'll never find anyone. That marriage isn't for people like me. Why would I share the most important thing in my life with someone who'd just use it to judge me? I wouldn't have, Dad started. Yes, you would have. You would have found something wrong with her. Wrong specialty. Wrong hospital. Wrong something. Because you need me to be the failure so you can be the success. That's not true. 2 days ago, you announced to 30 people that I'd die alone. That I don't have what it takes for marriage. You made my supposed loneliness the centerpiece of your birthday celebration. Dad's face flushed. I was just being realistic. No, you were being cruel. There's a difference. Where's your wife now? Marcus asked. Working. Sunday shifts at the trauma center. Convenient, Dad muttered. My phone buzzed. A text from Catherine. How's it going? Me, told them. It's going about as expected. Catherine, want me to come over? Me, yes actually. Can you? Catherine, give me 30 minutes. I looked up. Actually, she's coming over. She'll be here in half an hour. I want to meet her, Mom said. Why? So you can judge whether she's good enough for the son you've been calling a failure for a decade. We never called you a failure, Mom protested. Dad literally said marriage isn't for failures while looking at me. He's told every relative who'll listen that I'll die alone. He's made it clear my career doesn't count because it's not something he understands. I'm proud of your career, Dad insisted. You called it tech support 2 days ago. You don't even know what I do. So enlighten us, Marcus said. I'm the CTO at Secure Health Systems. We design cybersecurity infrastructure for hospital networks. I have 4 to 7 people on my team and a budget of $18 million. I make more than Dad's salary as a surgeon. I've been doing this for 6 years. The table went silent. 18 million. Jennifer repeated. Annual technology budget. My salary is separate. And you never told us. Mom asked. Every time I tried to explain my work, Dad changed the subject or made a joke about me playing with computers. After a while, I stopped trying. Dad was staring at his plate. The medical board thing. Your wife, what's her specialty again? Trauma surgery. And she works at Northwestern. Chief of trauma surgery. His face went pale. Catherine Wells? Dr. Catherine Wells. Yes. She's on the state medical board. She's the vice chair, actually. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The license review. The additional documentation. That wasn't random. No, Dad. That was my wife, The woman you've never met because you've spent years telling me I'm not good enough for anyone, exercising her authority to ensure you're actually as competent as you claim to be. That's abuse of power. Is it? 5% of renewals get randomly audited. Yours came up. Completely by the book. Unless you're suggesting there's something in your record that won't hold up to scrutiny. My record is spotless. Then you have nothing to worry about. The doorbell rang. Catherine, right on time. I answered it. She was still in her scrubs, straight from the hospital, looking exhausted and beautiful. Hi, she said, kissing me. This the big reveal. Currently explaining to Dad that his license review wasn't random. Oh, it was totally random. Computer-generated audit selection. I just happened to sign off on it. She smiled. Hi, I'm Catherine. The wife who doesn't exist. We walked into the dining room together. My family stared at her like she was a ghost. You're Dr. Wells, Dad said. I am. And you're Dr. Peterson. I've reviewed your surgical outcomes. Very impressive. You're a talented surgeon. The license review is standard procedure. You'll submit your documentation, we'll review it, and assuming everything is in order, which I'm sure it will be, you'll be approved. Should take about 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Standard timeline for audited renewals. Unless you'd prefer expedited review, which requires additional fees. Dad looked like he'd been slapped. Mom stood up. Dr. Wells, I'm Sandra. Michael's mother. I'm so sorry we didn't know about the wedding. He didn't want you there, Catherine said bluntly. Because you've spent years treating him like he's not good enough. Can you blame him? We never meant. You announced at a public dinner that he'd die alone. That he doesn't have what it takes for marriage. I heard the recording. Recording? Dad asked. I pulled out my phone. Marcus's wife posted video from your birthday to Facebook. The whole speech about marriage not being for failures. It's been viewed 800 times. I played the clip. Dad's voice filled the room. Michael will probably die alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are meant to be solitary. Catherine watched it, her jaw tight. That's my husband you're talking about. The man I chose to marry. The man who's brilliant, kind, and successful by any reasonable measure. And you made his supposed loneliness into entertainment. I didn't mean it like that, Dad said weakly. Then how did you mean it? I was just being realistic about his prospects. His prospects? He's the CTO of a major cybersecurity firm. He owns a house in Lincoln Park. He's married to a surgeon. What exactly were you being realistic about? Dad had no answer. You were being cruel, Catherine continued. You needed your son to be a failure so you could feel superior. And instead of fighting you, he just built a life you couldn't imagine and let you keep believing whatever you wanted. She turned to me. I'm proud of you for finally telling them. But honestly, Michael, they don't deserve to know about us. I know. We should go. I nodded. We headed for the door. Michael, wait, Mom called. Can we talk about this? Really talk. I turned back. About what, Mom? About how you've let Dad treat me like a disappointment for 10 years. About how you've pitted me to every relative. About how you've never once asked if I was actually happy. We thought. You thought what you wanted to think. What was easiest? What made Dad feel good about himself? The license review, Dad said. Can you call it off? No, Catherine answered. It's a legitimate audit. You'll comply with the documentation requirements like every other physician who gets selected. This is revenge. This is accountability. You're a surgeon. Your license requires periodic verification of competence. That's what's happening. We left them sitting in stunned silence. In the car, Catherine squeezed my hand. You okay? Yeah. Actually, yeah. That was brutal. It needed to happen. I'm tired of hiding. My phone started buzzing immediately. Text after text. Marcus, WTF just happened? Jennifer, call me. We need to talk. Mom, Michael, please. Let's discuss this calmly. And one from Dad, the license review. This is inappropriate. I texted back, The review is legitimate. You're a good surgeon. You'll be fine. This has nothing to do with our relationship. Dad, everything to do with our relationship. You're punishing me. Me? No, Dad. I'm just not protecting you from consequences anymore. There's a difference. The next morning, I woke to 4 to 7 missed calls. Extended family. Cousins. Aunts and uncles. Everyone wanted to know about the secret wife, the secret success, the secret life. I ignored most of them. But I called Jennifer. I'm sorry we didn't know, she said immediately. About Catherine. About your job. About any of it. Did you ever ask? No. We just assumed Dad was right about you. And now? Now I'm realizing Dad's been wrong about a lot of things. Michael, the stuff he said at his birthday, I should have defended you. I'm sorry. Thanks. Can I meet Catherine? Actually meet her, not in the middle of a confrontation. Maybe. When things calm down. 3 weeks later, Dad's license documentation was submitted, reviewed, and approved. Catherine signed. Off on it personally. She texted me a photo of the approval letter. Your dad's still a good surgeon. Personal opinions don't affect professional assessments. Me, I know. Thank you for being fair. Catherine, always. Even when he doesn't deserve it. 2 months after the revelation, I met my mother for coffee. She looked tired. Older. Your father is struggling, she said. With what? With realizing he's been wrong about you. About everything. And he wants to apologize. He wants to meet Catherine properly. He wants to try. Why now? Because he discovered I'm successful by his standards? Because my wife has power over his license? No. Because he realized he doesn't actually know his own son. And that's unacceptable. I studied her. What about you, Mom? I enabled him. I let him treat you like a disappointment because it was easier than challenging him. I'm sorry. I need time. I understand. We talked for an hour. Really talked, maybe for the first time in years. Catherine's impressive, Mom said. I looked her up. Chief of Trauma Surgery at 37. That's remarkable. She is remarkable. You knew her before? Before you reconnected? We dated when I was 28. Dad told me to break up with her because she'd be too successful for me. So I did. Mom's face crumpled. Oh, Michael. I was young. I believed him. Took me years to realize he was wrong. I'm glad you found each other again. Me too. 3 months later, Catherine and I hosted a dinner party. Small gathering. My parents. Marcus and Jennifer. Dad was quiet for most of the evening. Watching. Listening. Looking like he was trying to understand something he'd missed. After dinner, he asked to speak with me privately. We stood on the back porch, evening air cool. I was wrong, he said simply. About you. About your career. About Catherine. About everything. Yeah. You were. I don't know how to fix this. Start by seeing me as I actually am. Not as the son who didn't become what you wanted. I'm trying. Try harder. We stood in silence for a moment. Catherine's brilliant, Dad said. I can see why you love her. I loved her 10 years ago too. You told me to let her go because I wasn't good enough. He winced. I was protecting you from what I thought was inevitable. You were protecting your ego. You needed me to fail so you could feel superior. That's harsh. It's true. Dad nodded slowly. I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. Yeah. You should have. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was acknowledgement. And that was something. 6 months later, Dad met us for dinner at our favorite restaurant. Catherine, he said carefully. I want to apologize. For my son's birthday. For what I said. You were right, I was cruel. And I'm sorry. Catherine studied him. I appreciate that. Michael's lucky to have you. We're lucky to have each other. Dad nodded. That's exactly right. We had dinner, awkward at first, then gradually more comfortable. Dad asked about Catherine's work. Actually listened to her answers. Asked about my projects at CQ Health. Tried. It wasn't perfect. Years of dismissal don't evaporate in one dinner. But it was a start. As we were leaving, Dad pulled me aside. The license review, he said. I understand now why it happened. It was random. No. I mean, I understand why you needed to set it in motion. To show me that the son I'd written off as a failure had married someone who held power over something I valued. That was the point, wasn't it? I thought about denying it. But he was right. Yeah. That was the point. I deserved it. Yeah. You did. Dad nodded. For what it's worth, I learned the lesson. Good. We shook hands, not a hug, not yet, but more than we'd had in years. I drove home with Catherine, her hand in mine. How do you feel? She asked. Like I can breathe again. Like I don't have to hide anymore. Good. You never should have had to. I know. We pulled into our driveway in Lincoln Park. Our house. Our life. Our choice. Love you, Catherine said. Love you too. We walked inside together, not the failure and the surgeon, just two people who'd chosen each other. And that was enough.